DeShaun Tate here from Tate's Take, where basketball lives. Got my dude with me, Lindsay Huddleston from SPS Sports Psychology Solutions. Did I say that right?
You got it right, man.
Try saying that 3 times fast. With everything going on in the world today, I know a lot of people looking at it from a pessimistic side, everything with 2020 and things like that. But there's still some good things going on in 2020, especially right here on this campus, Michigan State University, as for the second week in a row, Michigan State has picked up the number 1 player by position, and one obviously last week being Imani Bates out of Ypsilanti Prep, now from the Lincoln Rail Splitters, but as of today, having the opportunity to land the number 1 shooting guard in the class of 2021, that being none other than Max Christie. You spent a lot of time on this campus, obviously. Lindsay, give me a little bit of your take and your insight on how this works for this program and how much Tom Izzo really needed a recruiting class such as this.
Excellent point. It's a great time for Spartan Nation as we stand here in front of Sparty, getting this great recruit. The hashtag for the football team, Mel Tucker, is relentless, but that's also part of Tom Izzo's plan too. He has been a relentless recruiter, working on a recruiting trail, and I think this second big recruit is indicative of what he's been about, and is really showing the whole state of Michigan, and not the country, Michigan State basketball is a premier program, a destination that people want to be around. The last thing I'll say about that is you hear so many recruits talk about the family aspect. I remember Vernon Carey, who ended up going to Duke, being here on a recruiting trip, and I talked to him. I said, what is it about this program? He said it's the family thing. Imani Bates talked about the loyalty. So there's a lot of authenticity that comes out of Tom Izzo's program, and I think that's why you get the type of recruits you're getting right now.
That makes a lot of sense, because just being from here, born and raised and just bred here, essentially almost like on this campus, you heard a lot about a lot of those similar words, being a family and loyalty, and obviously that's what they're all about. I've even spoken to some guys in the past, Chris Webbers and Jabari Parkers, plenty of guys. I'm sure Vernon Carey, like you alluded to, kind of said many of the same things when he's just talking about the family atmosphere and just so many of the guys that have kind of embraced them to bring them here on campus, and that they love Tom Izzo still. Izzo kind of checks in on these guys a lot of times. As I'm sitting here looking at it, because I know that Max Christie brother was offered a scholarship as well within the last few weeks or something like that. So in the event, I'm sitting here thinking about, could this potentially have been a package deal, whether Imani Bates does reclassify or not to go from 2022 to 2021. Even more so, whether it's a package deal between Christie and Bates, or Christie and his brother getting that commitment. What do you think that says necessarily about this program as a whole?
Well, Tom Izzo is probably one of the last of the Mohicans, one of the last mentally tough coaches as it relates to being hard-nosed. And guys who want to go to the NBA know they need that preparation, and that's what makes Michigan State a destination. You saw that in Jaren Jackson Jr. You knew he was going to be one and done no matter where he went, but he knew the shortcomings he has was just building himself not just physically but mentally, and that's what draws people into the Michigan State program. It could very well be a package deal. It could be something to say, hey, if you come here, we'll make room for you and everyone else, and why not? And at this point, all those other teams are loaded up, the Dukes of the world, the Kentuckys, you know what's happening, but you still get this family atmosphere, and there's nothing like this campus, man. People come here, and they're embraced from the open door practice policy where everyone can kind of be around, and it's just this is when Tom Izzo gets to benefit from being the most senior coach around, if you will, as it relates to other programs, particularly another one in this state, not too far from this campus.
Yeah, we want to talk about them right now because they still got some work cut out for themselves in regards to some of the recruiting. And make no mistake about it, Juwan Howard is doing a very good job in terms of his recruiting. Even though he's not landing some of the guys we talked about, Isaiah Todd before, we talked about Josh Christopher, who he wasn't able to get. But I think it's just in due time. I really believe that. And we are definitely going to keep it Michigan State here. However, I want to make sure that I mention that, because when that starts to happen and that starts to ramp up, I think that it's very important that we kind of pay attention to that, because they are getting being put into conversation of a lot of elite, talented players on the high school circuit that are considering them in their top 5. And even though they didn't choose them, they're pretty much in a roundabout way what kind of feels like sometimes right on the heels of Tom Izzo. Just a couple more minutes here with Lindsay Huddleston from SPS. When I'm sitting back and I'm looking at this thing, I'm telling people all the time, people are, killing me about how Imani Bates is not going to spend any time on the campus. You're never going to see him dressed in the green and white. We don't know exactly what that is. It's all speculative. And whether the NBA comes calling and lifts the age restriction or the G League throws a ton of money on him, one thing that we do know is that we have another verbal commit with a player who could potentially, reap the benefits from playing with Imani Bates or not playing with Imani Bates, being Max Christie, because he'll have the opportunity to have the ball in his hands so much. How do you think that something like that works out in his favor? Because for me, after watching so much basketball, he kind of reminds me of another former Spartan great in Gary Harris.
Yeah, Gary Harris is really good getting it in, but I think this is generational too, DeShaun, meaning this generation, they go where the hype is. I'm not taking anything away from the substance and the decision of him making that, call, but right now COVID has everything real low. The hype of Imani Bates, to be able to, connect yourself to that kind of hype machine and what's going on right now. And it's sad to say, this generation is known for decommitting as much as they commit to. So right now, all the hype is around this. Max Christie is on people's radar, and he may not have been other than real insiders like yourself who really follow this and what's going on. So now he's getting his social media likes up. He's getting a lot of attention, and you will hope that there's some consistency with that and there's real substance behind it, and he keeps that commitment all the way through to his time to be on campus.